Canadian correspondent Rob Anton on episode 337, Tuesday, February 2nd, 2021 at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I think GameStop's going down. Has it been going back down?
Yeah, I think it's like holding around close to 100.
Yeah.
I believe last I looked at it.
So...
market's...
Yeah, I checked it.
Just about over.
Yeah, I checked it a couple minutes ago. It was at like 95.
Yeah.
So I had Roger explain it to me, but you'd been texting me about it, and you had a much better grasp on it than I did. What is the whole... Like, why is this happening now? Why hasn't this happened before? Like, it seems like we, as in, like, we, like, the peons, could have been doing this for a long time, but now all this... It's not like there was some new rule or regulation that allowed this to happen. All of a sudden, it's like everyone buy GameStop, everyone buy Silver, everyone buy AMC. Like, what is... Like, what is the... Like, teach me, because even if you know little about it, I know nothing about it.
Fair. Okay, and I will say, like, yeah, I've been watching other people who do this. Like, I've been watching a guy who's been trading for 13 years, day trading, right? So, like, he's a big source of my information. Basically, so the gist of it is, as you know, like groups like Melvin Capital and like Citron were trying to short sell GameStop, basically, which I don't know. You know the concept of short selling. Like, basically, we bet against the company. We'll borrow stocks from you. We guarantee. So if they bought GameStop at $10, they're like, they're basically giving GameStop a guarantee. We'll return these stocks to you at $10, right? You will buy these back from us at $10. I guess in this case it was last Friday was I think the deadline for that, if I'm understanding that correctly. And so people started noticing that they were over leveraged. So basically they bet against the house with the house's money, right? So their own money, but also like 40%. They were 140% in on stocks, which is like shouldn't be possible because they didn't have enough to cover their losses, right? So that's why they ended up getting bailed out by like other hedge funds, right? So that was basically the first like red flag. The second, because like this isn't like a single thing happened. This is more like a perfect storm situation. So that was going on. People on Wall Street bets who were like known for YOLOing and fucking just like doing crazy shit just to see what happens.
Yeah,
like they're, you know what I mean? Like they're the ones behind the original Robin Hood
kind of like
infinite money glitch, where somebody figured out, oh, okay, if I play around with a couple of stocks this way, I can actually make, infinite money, which it was like a very small amount, but yes, they technically could. And it was bad enough that they forced the app to shut down, and I think they had to like take the stock off the market for a little bit, and before they had to change some shit on their back end before they could put it up. So when I saw that they did that, I was just like, okay, it's only a matter of time till these fuckers like break something big. And then this was it. You saw the big boys kind of over leveraging, getting full of themselves, like, yeah, we do this all the time. What the fuck? Like, we can drop any stock we want because we control these markets. We control the media, because when we put a press release out and we say we're shorting GameStop, everybody who owns GameStop panics because they're like, oh shit, now I'm up against $1 billion hedge fund. But this time they didn't panic. They held the fucking line, and more people piled in, right? So when that stock went up, the hedge fund was forced to basically buy their stock back before they got too fucked, like on the way up, you know what I mean? So they were stuck in this like cycle of like buying their stock back, and then like people would buy it out from under them and keep pumping the market, right? So even though like they're lucky they were doing that, they had to do that, or else if it had gotten to 420, when it got to like in the week, and I can't remember what it closed in on Friday, it would have been completely fucked.
Yeah.
Like completely more fucked than they already were.
Yeah.
Like they lost $70 billion. And they could have lost more had they not been doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was kind of like a vicious cycle where other hedge funds started noticing like, oh, well, they're going down, and instead of like supporting them, they're like, we're gonna fucking pick at the body. You know what I mean? Like we're getting in on this because that's
the nature.
No morals.
That's the nature of those animals. Right? So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing. That's kind of the whole like the free market. These people don't really want a free market. They want a market that's a safe space for them and that keeps everybody else dumb and out of it.
Yeah.
Unless they pay the big bucks to get in.
Yeah.
And play the game, right?
Yeah.
So it's not really like. And now today we saw they got in through the fire escape. You know what I mean? It's like, or not last week, I should say.
Yeah.
People are still going to suffer, but it's not like it was like a very small rebellion.
Yeah.
It was like an echoing of Occupy Wall Street. It was Occupy Wall Street from home.
Yeah.
Like we're tired of bankers fucking around with our day-to-day livelihoods. We don't feel like 10 years ago, everybody went out and was like on the streets. Now we're just going to like sit at home and use apps but still like cause actually more damage, make more of a fuss and create more attention than whatever happened before.
And they stopped trading, right? They stopped trading. They stopped allowing the buying of GameStop prematurely, right? So they just turned it off.
At first they stopped it outright, and then they made it so like you can only buy 2 shares per like what's the word per
account,
like sign up, whatever account you had. 2 shares per account. But like most people only would have 1 or 2. Average people, they're gonna like have 1 or 2 apps that they maybe trade $5,000 with. You know what I mean? It's not like they're like throwing billions and shit out of this and that capital to money. So that definitely limited. It's like this side gets to have as many guns as they want, but you guys only get to have 2 guns per. You know what I mean? In this war. So it's definitely not. It's blatantly not a fair. Not a fair.
It's looking at some.
To me, this is just like another thread of because there's like certain propaganda that rich people spout, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the whole like work hard thing. Yeah, that was great like 100 years ago.
Yeah, when
you could do that, when like our grandparents could like go buy like a bushel of flowers from a farmer and like hustle them out on the street to make a grand in a month.
And
my grandfather did that, and they'd let you have the money and they'd let you hustle the flowers.
Yeah.
But now you're not allowed to do anything.
Yeah.
You can't fucking do anything, right? Everything is controlled. So there's no like this like idea that like, oh, work hard and we'll like, no, it doesn't work that way anymore. Like we see it plainly in our everyday life. Who are the millionaires nowadays? They're people who are like YouTube stars or like, like they're either celebrities or they're like business people. Those are the only 2 people. And even that's tiered.
Mm-hmm.
The celebrities, while they have a voice, they don't have the money.
No.
You know what I mean? Like when we say, oh, these people, they're fucking on Twitch or they're in movies and they're millionaires. And like billionaires are like, haha,
yeah, right.
It's you know what I mean? And they're like, and then we go like, oh, they control everything. And the billionaires are like, yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah,
they control everything. The millionaire.
Yeah, right. It's like looking at Elon Musk. It's like, I think it was Ari Shaffir who said it. Ari's got a pretty good career, but I remember he said it on Rogan a couple of years ago. He was like, you make a couple $1 million and you think you're rich. And then you realize that, and then, when he's like, when you don't have money, you always think that there's like the rich and then the richer. And the richer are just like, a little
like
richer.
They're all one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's like, they're just a little better. It's like Michael Jordan versus like Scottie Pippen or something.
Right.
And he's like, and then what you realize once you actually make a couple million is the rich people are the really rich people are farther away from you than you are to like what you used to be.
Exactly.
And it's one thing I think about is like Joe Rogan, right? $100 million Spotify contract, big dick swinging, right? He moved out to Austin. He's like buying his friends' houses to move out there with him. He's going to open up his own, which is all badass. I'm not shitting on Rogan.
No, ideally, yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
the ideal behind it.
But the idea is like we're looking at Rogan as like, oh, he has this new power. Like Tim Dillon's moving out there. Like, it's like, oh, Rogan's got this money and he can get this move out there. And then like Elon Musk is moving out there too. And I heard someone say yesterday, like now Rogan and Musk are out there. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, Rogan, 100 million. Elon Musk, as of yesterday, 185 billion. That's the difference between $185,000 and $1. And they're both powerhouses, and you realize they're not even close. They're not even close. I am closer.
Joe Rogan is like Elon Musk's mailman. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's the equivalent of, he's like the guy, the poor guy he talks to every. You know what I mean?
It's 185 thousandths, right? Because 100 million times 1,000 is 100 billion, and right? No. So it's not 185,000. No, I was wrong. Sorry. 100 million times 1,000 is 100 billion. Musk is worth 185 billion. So never mind. It's the difference between $1,850 and $1, which is still insane. $1,850 and $1, right? So it's
I get it. Like, it's
still insane. Yeah, it's when you realize they have that. So I was thinking, just to play, and I'm with you on everything you said about, like, kind of upward mobility and what it used to be. I agree with you on that, but for the sake of being the devil's advocate, do you think that maybe it's always been this one-sided and fucked, and what we're seeing is we're just more aware of it now? Kind of like, one thing I always try to remind myself is, like, when the world seems so fucked, I try to remind myself that, like, the world's probably always just been this fucked. It's just now everyone has an iPhone and you can see videos of how fucked it is. But it's probably always been this fucked.
I like to draw parallels to other things that I know about, like, throughout history. Because, like, I'm a mixed bag of information, and I guess that's what happens the way I grew up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, for example, being in the States when I was in high school, it's like watching a game. Like, not that your lives are games, but you're watching something that you really don't have any stake in. Like, I have no stake one way or the other, Democrat, Republican, rich, poor, and your country is your country. It doesn't affect, like, it affects the big people in my country, but it's in day-to-day life, no effect. You know what I mean? Other than, like, culture, television, that kind of influence shit. But as far as, like, the money in my pocket, it doesn't really make a difference, you know? So even growing up, it was, like, fascinating to me because we don't even talk about politics as much, especially when I was younger. People don't give a shit up here. It's boring. It's like it's bureaucratic, and people only talk about it when it really stops working. Here, you know what I mean? That's when people will get the fucking up in arms and shit, and they have in the past. I mean, we have a history of, like, violent uprisings from the working class demanding shit. That's how we got healthcare. I mean, they didn't get healthcare because they were like, please. They got it because they fucking lined up with, like, pitchforks and shit in because like our healthcare came from our prairies, like the middle. You know, the people who are, like, farmers and, like, those people, because shit would happen with wheat. You know what I mean? Where, like, fucking entire crops would get wiped out, and, like, they're like, so what? We just have to die? We fed the country and now we just die? Is this the play? And so, of course, they got fucking up in arms, and they ended up just starting unions because they had to. They couldn't survive, right? Because like that's where they came from. Yeah. But that's, like, a long time ago, right? Yeah. That's where the origins of that shit comes from, though. It's not like some whiny, leftist person. Yeah. They were like people of the earth, you know what I mean? Like, they're not. And so, like, I get why you get these backlashes on rich people. Like, this is exactly the same kind of thing. You're just seeing it with today's technology. A bunch of people who have fucking almost nothing, you know what I mean? And no prospects. Because, like, I can empathize. I'm like, what the fuck are we going to do? You know what I mean? Like, all the jobs are fucking gone again. There's no industry coming back. All we see is, like, rich people getting richer. Well, every day it's harder and harder for regular people to, like, save money, like, afford cars. Everything is fucking going up in price. Like fucking even our food here is supposed to go up like 4% this year. But, like, unemployment's highest it's ever been. You know what I mean? It's like, what the fuck? Like, when's it gonna give? So this is, like, another, like, a small fucking fuck you to the upper class that you're seeing. Whereas people don't even care anymore if they're gonna lose the money they put in. It's just a principle thing.
Yeah.
That's like when you've hit something you've hit a nerve.
Yeah.
When people don't give a shit, when they're literally burning money in front of you in protest, then shit's going to change in some way. I don't know which way it's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm with you. It's again, there's an Ari Shaffir interview from like 2012, and I remember watching it then and thinking that I was like, man, this guy's such like a black-pilled like nihilist. But I look at it now, 9 years later, and I'm like, and he goes, the guys, it's just something. I'm not shit. No, I am shitting on him. I mean, it's just some like clean-cut morning news guy, suit, close-cropped haircut. He's like, welcome to the morning show, Ari. He's like, now tell us. He's like, this election, Mitt Romney and Barack Obama. Like, what do you think? And Ari goes, nothing's going to change. I don't vote. And he goes, why didn't you vote? And he goes, when do you think? Well, how are things going to change? And Ari goes, when politicians are dragged out into the street and shot in the head. And the guy just kind of is just silent. And Ari goes, I'm serious. He goes, I mean, I don't advocate for it, but he's like, when in the history of the world has anything changed peacefully? Hitler wasn't voted out. The Arab Spring, they weren't voted out. Gaddafi was chased down and sodomized with a sword. And then his body dragged through the streets. He's like, things change. America didn't just say, hey, Britain, it would be really cool if we got this land and you guys just got your other empires. No, the colonists started popping out of the woods in guerrilla warfare and shooting the redcoats. Like, things change when blood is shed, and it's a horrible truth. And that one rebellion sparked all of the colonies to start going, "Fuck you, England!" And now England has what? And now they can't even trade to like the EU. Now they're so fucked. Yeah, like. I feel bad, like some of the stories I see of people who are like, oh, you didn't realize that like your summer home in the fucking French like Alps or whatever would now be taxed up the ass because you're a fucking dirty foreigner. Now because you wanted England for English. Yeah. Like, okay, well, French for the French. Fuck you, man. Exactly. French for the French and everybody else. Yeah. But good luck, England. And now they're like whining and complaining because everything costs so much. And it's like, yeah, you can't just like turn off the taps of trade, especially in Europe. That's been like way more established over thousands of years. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, literally, like trade lines going back to castles and cobblestone.
Exactly. Like, you don't get to just be like, no, we don't want to participate in that anymore.
Yeah, so I'm thinking of what like Ari said, and like even this past summer, I mean, like. Watching like riots and I've said this a million times, as much as I don't agree, because all those small businesses got burned, like those people are just poor fucks like you and me. But at the end of the day, and again, I don't agree. Anyone that watches this podcast knows that I'm right leaning, pro Trump. I get it, I'm a Nazi. But man, if you want to enact change, damn if you didn't start to see some change after cities were mobbed, and it's a horrible thing. However, when change is brought on, well, not when it's asked for permission. So I say that to say, I was listening to Tim Dillon on Sunday, and he goes, you know, and Tim Dillon hates everybody, and he goes, you know what? When Nancy Pelosi comes out and goes, this like wild speculation on GameStop isn't helping anyone. He goes, the mask has fallen off. He goes, the people that are trying to get you, or he's like Trump, Pelosi, whoever. Trying to get you a $600 stimmy check, or they're really going to get you an extra $1 on your hourly wage. But the minute you guys start grouping together and actually making some real money on Wall Street, he goes, what do they all come out and do? You can't do that. They pause trading. They just say, fuck it. We're not playing by the rules. They just stop. They're just not doing. You can only own this many stock. And he goes, you're starting to see the uniparty.
Why do you think your government was so like down with union busting for the last 30 fucking years? Because people are weak when they're individuals. Yes, it's nice to be an individual and have freedom and stuff, but that's also, you cut the wolf off from its pack, you can kill it very easily.
Exactly. That's how you pick things apart. Yeah, you
exactly.
isolate, and
that's why when I see this whole like fuck socialism, I don't see it as like fuck like I see the underlying message for what it really is. It's like, yeah, be mad at each other. Be mad at each other. Because when you're mad at each other and you're not together, we get to fuck you. We get to fuck you, and you don't even notice. You're like yelling at the guy across the street, and we're behind you fucking ramming you.
Yeah.
And just going, socialists, communists,
yeah.
da, 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 da.
Yeah, we're both bent over taking it up the ass, right?
You guys have been doing, but the thing is, that strategy has been working in the States for 50 years.
It's been working in the
That's
world.
The thing. It's been working.
Time. Divide and conquer.
Well, absolutely. But the thing is, it's like
specifically the United States.
Specifically right now in the recent history, I should say.
Sure.
Like I was watching. Have you seen the documentary, The Man in Black vs. Tricky Dick? And it's talking about the time fucking Johnny Cash went to the White House for Nixon. And Johnny Cash, I mean, you want to talk about a patriotic American.
Yeah.
Right? There's not like, good luck.
Yeah.
Like he's the guy who said, you have the right to burn a flag, American flag, and I have the right to shoot you for it. Right? If that's
fucking
not
American.
Like
that's not
exactly,
American. Yeah.
Exactly. Right? And so when Nixon invited him, he was like, yeah, absolutely. You're the president of the United States.
Sure.
No matter who they are, whether I agree with them personally or not, he was like, I'll stand by my president. Sure. That's the kind of American he was.
Yeah.
Right. But he was also behind like Native American rights, a gigantic push for Native American rights. He was against the prison system. Right. You look at like he was for the poor. So when invited by Nixon to perform two songs that they wanted him to perform, Cadillac Welfare Check and Okie from Muskogee, he refused, and instead he played What is Truth right in Nixon's face 2 weeks before Watergate happened.
That's insane. I didn't know that.
That's crazy. But this is what I mean. Why are these things left out of your history? Because they're real patriots who care not about the fucking person who's in office and whatever narrative is being, they care about the person next to them, the neighbor, the person they grew up with. You know what I mean? The person that, it's not about all this bullshit. It's we got to come together and make sure we're okay, because we're not okay right now.
Yeah, right.
We're not okay, man.
It's me being bent over and taking a dick up my ass with my Trump hat, and I'm yelling at, Bob on the other side of the street with his, Biden BLM hat, and he's taking it up the ass, and we're both bent over taking it up the ass from politicians, and I'm going MAGA, and he's going BLM, and the reality is the two politicians are high-fiving as they fuck us in the ass.
Well, even that, it's like MAGA. MAGA originally was used in the 50s. Make America Great Again was McGovern's slogan.
Really?
Yes, it's not original.
That's awesome.
That's what I mean. Like, this is like all nostalgia. And Trump would have known this because he was a kid he was young during that time. So it would be like fresh. It would be as fresh in his mind as when we're 60s and we know hope and change and we know MAGA. Because they've been used on us. So they're just recycling shit, man. Like, it's the same. Like, the Democrats are in now, right? And so like, but like, they're just gonna help bail out Wall Street, whatever bullshit they're gonna do, right? And you look at like Donald Trump's taxes. He like cut taxes for corporations indefinitely down to 21%, but individuals only get 5 years, and then you guys go back to normal. So it's like, who are you helping, man? Like, I get it. I get that everybody wants to like have our fucking hero, and we all want it.
Yeah.
But none of them are it. None of them are it. Like, and if you look at that, the way he structured the tax thing and kind of his personality and penchant for wanting to win, I will just leave it at that. I'm not going to get personal, but he likes to win, right? Yeah. Definitely likes to win, and he's not afraid of maybe setting up things so he looks like he's the fucking winner.
Yeah.
So, isn't it ironic?
He's a hyper narcissist. I've said that since 2016. I just
found it weird, and again, I don't take one side or the other, but I found it weird that this tax break for individuals expires in 2025, which would have, in his mind, had he won the election, been when a Democratic president would have come back in. I just find that kind of funny.
Yeah, no.
Do you know what I mean? Because then it's like, these Democrats are raising the taxes on you. It's like, wait a second.
That's what Ernie said the other day. Ernie goes, Ernie, he comes on here all the time. My buddy Ernie, Mexican buddy. And Ernie is the Democrat to my Republican. And I bring him on here because we butt. And point being, though, is Ernie came on here. He's like, Tommy, did you know the tax goes out in 2020? I was like, I didn't know that. And he said the same thing. And he goes, and guess what? He goes, so it's not that if a Democrat was in power in 2025, he goes, it's not that they would have to enact new taxes. By default, your taxes would go back up, and they would have to do something to get. So they would have to take an action to put it back down. So even if they do nothing, it comes across as these fucking Democrats putting your taxes. And hearing that from him and hearing that from you, I'm like, it's the sore, sour gut feeling in your gut. And I say you, I mean me. That I feel like I got played. And is it Mark Twain? Yeah.
We've all had that fucking feeling, man. Like, we all got played. We've all been played. It just depends when you got on the train. That's the only difference. Did you get on the train during Obama? Did you get on the train during Bush? Did you get on the... Exactly. Who was your conductor at the time?
Who was your conductor on the train?
How did they rile you up? Like, there's no reason. So my older sister, she was on the Bush train. Oh, no. Right?
Yeah.
Like, but nowadays she sees like
what he was.
It was what it was. Bush is one of those guys who, like, if I saw him in a bar, I'd probably have a beer with him. But do I agree with all of his policies? Fucking absolutely not.
Hold on,
you know
I have to insert here. I see that on Reddit all the time. You know, Bush was I don't agree with Bush, but I'd have a beer with him. The one thing I do have to say about Bush that doesn't
like a regular dude.
Sure, but the one thing I have to say about Bush that does not apply to Clinton, Obama, or Trump is that under George Bush, 1.5 million civilians were killed in the Middle East. That's not someone, and I'm not trying to go high horse on you. It's just I always see that when people are like, I'd have a beer with him. I'm like, that motherfucker killed 1 million. You don't have to like Obama. You don't have to like Trump. I always look at Bush, and I'm like, I don't think I would. Maybe that's my high horse.
Let me give you something else. Let me give you something else about Bush that's kind of like, and liberals would fucking rake me across the coals for this, but he wasn't like... I see him as an innocent a bit. Like, I see him as the poor, like that rich kid who just wants to impress daddy and his friends. And when he was a president, his entire cabinet was his daddy's friends.
Yeah.
Right? Dick Cheney was not a George W. Bush. No. He was with George Bush.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And they started in the Middle East.
That's true.
They did Desert Storm. So it's kind of like, hey, daddy, watch me.
Look, Dad, I did it. Look, Dad, I did it, Dad.
Finish your war.
Dad, exactly. I did it. Look, Dad, I did it. Do you love me now? Yeah, no, okay, I would agree with that. I recant my statement.
Yes.
You're right. So, I think Bush is a useful idiot.
He still started a war, but again, it's the same. It's not like Obama got in there and was like, all right, we're gonna get out and let these people... No, he's like, so drones? Like, you know what I mean? And then, like, that happened a bunch, and then, like, there's, of course, going to be fallout from that, and, like, all of this shit. It's just, like, this constant fucking...
You know endless... is it the Eddie Murphy meme where it's a black guy tapping the head?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. He does look like...
Yeah, I've heard... I saw someone say Eddie Murphy once, and now I can't unsee it, but I don't want to say it is.
Graft Eddie Murphy's face onto that meme, guys.
Whatever.
I get it.
But the point is that...
No, it happens.
When I read Annie Jacobson's Surprise Kill Vanish about CIA, like, paramilitary and drone strikes, and she talks about when Obama came into office, he was looking at everything... He was looking at just the whole scenario with, like, Guantanamo, drone strikes, prisoners.
Yeah.
And he goes, we're getting all this flack from these prisoners, right? Treating them poorly. And he goes, we also have this drone strike problem. And I swear to God, and I say this as a conservative, I say this as a, like, pro to Obama, and I always kind of laugh because I'm, like, fucking dirty, but I'm like, I see it. He goes, Obama publicly said that, publicly showed that we're going to start having less prisoners at Guantanamo, which was true.
Yeah.
Under classification, he upped to drone strikes because his logic was, if there are no survivors...
Let him
go. No. If there are no survivors, there will be no prison. And I just think of that meme. Right. Can't have any prisoners at Guantanamo if there are no survivors. But like,
exactly. I remember I remember like watching a Fox News thing when Obama was talking about releasing prisoners from Guantanamo. They're gonna let these terrorists da 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 da. But yeah, the secret behind the thing is like, run. It was one of those like, start running, son, and like we're gonna fucking knock you out 50 yards out.
Yeah,
right?
seriously,
like,
right? We probably dropped them all off.
Get off American soil. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they never showed you where they went.
We'll like leave you with a tag.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we brought them over in like a CH-47 or a fucking C-17. I'm sure we put them all down in some small town in bumblefuck Kazakhstan. Yeah. And when you said, "All right, we released them," and then it was just like Alpha Zulu 9, we are en route. Right. And there was just a fucking flurry of JDAMs, daisy cutters, and fuel air bombs that just can't have a prisoner problem if there are no prisoners. Right? But yeah, no, because and this thing is, I got taken hook, line, and sinker for that too. I voted for him in 2008 because I was like fucking hope and change, and it's, I voted for Trump in 2020, and I'm looking at all of it, and it's the worst feeling
with the two-party system, man.
Yeah,
it's so easy to fucking just.
But I think
move these large groups of people.
So I do think I do think that there is hope. I don't think it's all lost, and it's. And it probably is all lost, but let me stay positive. For my own mental health.
But even if it is, there's I've seen like studies that show like when they break down our genes, like going back as far as they can, there is like a catastrophic event that humans lived through that there was only like 10,000.
Yeah. The bottleneck event.
And they're not
sure what it was. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm sure we got another one of those coming at some point. I don't endorse or like I'm not happy about it, but it's just like, let's be real. Let's be real here.
It might be, but what I was going to say is it's like the Mark Twain quote, right? And it's easier to fool a man than it is to convince a man he's been fooled. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I'm trying to it took a lot for me to like kind of realize that I had been fooled by Obama. And I'm now saying the same thing, and that I feel like I was fooled by Trump. It's much easier to dig in your heels, but I'm trying to grow as an individual, and what it looks like is I got played by two people, and there's no worse feeling than that you got duped.
And you understand that just it's not a reflection of like the things you believe in or like the things you think. It's just everybody is susceptible to this.
Yeah, well, and so what I'm trying to confront it head on, and instead of pretending it didn't happen, I'm just trying to acknowledge it. And I'm like, hey, I think I got duped, and it's a terrible feeling because it's like an insult to your own intelligence. You're like, Dad didn't actually take my thumb, or Dad didn't actually take my nose. That was just his thumb. It sucks it sucks to realize you got taken for a ride. But if you can acknowledge that you got taken for a ride, well, then there's more in front of you. You can go, okay, let's not get taken for a ride again. And I did in 2008, and then I did again in 2020. Okay, it's happened twice now. Let's try to fucking learn from this. And so I say all that to say this. I think I'm just going to have to vote third party for the rest of my life, because I think that's the only wedge I can possibly drive. Will it change my lifetime? Probably not.
Focus on local politics. Focus on the politics of the place you live in.
Focus on reality is you should probably just start stacking ammo and water, because I think there's going to be another bottleneck event coming, and I'm not sure if it's going to be natural. I think the hyper elite are going to merge with machine, become a new species, probably. Like instead of Homo sapien, it's going to be like it's either going to be like Homo cyborsis, like cyborg, or it's going to be like Homo cosmos. It's going to be like and not like homosexuals and Cosmo drinks. I mean like Homo sapiens going out into space. But I think that the elite are going to they're not going to want the top 1%. They're going to want the top 0.001%. I think they're going to merge with machine and radical life extension and augment their intelligence with supercomputers, quantum supremacy, and I think they're going to take off into biotechnological singularity. And I think all of us are going to be some sort of weird Hunger Games for them that they're going to watch from orbit in their space stations, and they're going to watch us just pit against each other, and they're going to do tests on us. I think it's going to be like I think it's going to be the Holocaust times 1,000,000,000. They're going to be like using us for experiments with new drugs. Like, hey, we should probably use up this human cattle before we go to our new terraformed planet. I think whatever's coming, I think if you're anything short of like $100 billion, I don't think you're making the cut. I think Joe Rogan's as fucked as you and I. I don't want it to be true, but I think that's what I think. Possibly before I die, that's what I'll see.
I think, I definitely agree with you, but like all things, I think that won't. It's unsustainable because as long as I just always look to nature when I look at shit like this. Like a pack of not a pack or a herd, but like a colony of ants can still fucking strip a buffalo clean. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes the buffalo trips and falls. Sometimes it gets stuck in the mud. Sometimes it gets like, it's not always just like, brah, brah, brah. Like everything has weaknesses. So if they're coming down to pick us off, they need a way to get back up. Like, I'm pretty sure this has been covered in movies before. Like, wasn't that the plot of Elysium and that really, really bad John Travolta, like based on Scientology sci-fi movie that came out, Battlefield Earth, that came out in like 2001 I think or something. It's so, if you can watch it, it's hilarious to watch. But it's actually, I think it's something to do with what Scientologists believe.
I think it's going to be what I think we're going to see is, I think we're going into some uncharted territories, and that all throughout history you have the rich, they get their power, they maintain it, but power just kind of moves around the earth like a screensaver almost. It bounces off walls. It just takes millennia to move. What we're seeing now is what happens. So in Ace Combat, right? In Ace Combat 7.
Which one?
Ace Combat 7. There's this legendary pilot named, like, he's got like 11 names. It's some long name, but it's Mihai, M-I-H-A-L-Y, and he's this veteran pilot. He's like the Dale Comstock of fighter pilots. He's this veteran that's seen every war, and he's just become he's legendary throughout the world. And they reach this new point where he's always like, there will always be like a best fighter pilot in the world. He's like, right now it's me. Before me, it was all the way back to like the Red Baron in World War I. There's always a new. But what we're reaching right now is like Belkin scientists they're building drones, but what they're doing is like they're scanning my brain, and they're modeling my brain for these drones that run on AI. So now instead of just having me, they're going to have thousands of me's, and it doesn't matter if you kill one because there's just another copy. And then the other thing is they don't refuse orders. They're machines. They don't care. So there's no like My Lai massacre where the U.S. Marine turns around and points the gun at the other Marines and says, we're not doing this. I think what we're going to see is like with Boston Dynamics, and we're going to see AI. And what you're going to have is the brain scans of guys like Dale Comstock or Joe Ted-Eye or other just elite Delta Force CIA assassins. But what you're going to have is you're going to be able to copy that brain. You're going to be able to put it into a soldier made out of silicon and carbon fiber that's going to run on solar power, that doesn't get tired. And you're going to have thousands of them. And it does, I know, but it's going to be that. But and the thing is then you're also going to be able, you're going to tell them, and don't be loyal to the Constitution. Because it doesn't matter. They're robots. So now, I say all that to say this is, what you're going to have now is you're going to have something we've never seen in history. And it's where you can have an entire army of Michael Jordans or an entire team of Michael Jordans, and they don't get tired. And if one dies, it doesn't matter. You just have another copy. If we see that go into the power of a Bezos or a Musk or whoever, that's where I'm not sure if the ants in the buffalo. I think the ants in the buffalo has applied for all of human history. I think right now, I don't know. I think we're on the verge of something new where they might seal the deal of almost like immortal power. I'm not trying to be like negative.
I get it, but to me, it's all like everything is like resource based, so you can only expand as far as there is like something to expand with and to. You know what I mean? As mortal Like, we still haven't seen people live past like 120. You know, like I think there's a lot of steps. I don't doubt that like some of the things that you're saying will absolutely happen. Probably within our lifetime, what we'll see is rich people will definitely have their own armies. Yeah, we're going to see that because it's already happening. They already have their own police forces. I personally have witnessed a time when all the rich people came to my city downtown, and the cops that were downtown to the protesters were saying, this isn't Canada anymore. So if that doesn't send a chill through your spine that like all bunch of rich people can fucking roll up into wherever the fuck they want and tell the people living there that this isn't your country anymore. Like, these people are caught on film saying this shit. So like, it can happen here in my huge gigantic city of like 4 million, 6 million people. It can happen anywhere, especially in small towns across the world.
Yeah, right.
Like Austin, Austin is like a coin flip at this point. It could either turn into an amazing place or it could turn into another fucking Silicon Valley times 10.
Yeah, it's it's getting weird now to where they can roll. And what happens again when it's all automated? You just roll up in a caravan of 100 MRAPs that can take anti-tank mines. It doesn't even matter if me and Rob jump out in the woods with some hunting rifles, and it just goes ding, and their turrets just like so. But I'm sure as soon as we got the A-bomb, there was probably a Rob and a Tommy in Germany or Brazil that were like, well, now that they have the A-bomb, they will always be supreme. But then it unravels in ways that no one expected. Russia got the A-bomb years before.
Humans are so fucking unpredictable. Like, okay, this shit starts happening, let's say theoretically in Austin, like Elon Musk and Bezos set up there and they got their own little fucking factions or whatever, and they start annexing parts of the Southeast. And like, you know what I mean? Like legit. Like, they're okay, Elon's like, I want Florida because I want to be able to launch my shit whenever I can. And Bezos like, I want New Mexico because then I can put my factories in these middle of the deserts where these people have no one can come and go. Like, I can have complete control over. We can only send drones to deliver the goods. You know what I mean? And it's like, I could totally like picture shit like that. But then I could totally picture shit like people in the north or like from Canada or Mexico like banding together to become these like fucking guerrilla fighters that are like trying to liberate people in these areas that are stuck living there. You know what I mean? Like it always goes back and forth because it's almost impossible to cover it all. Yeah,
it's always right. It's always there's always a wild card.
It's why the Russians are freaking out about the fucking Elon's internet right now. Like, they've already got it in the books. Like, if you use it, you're getting fined.
Yeah, well, it's but there's always but you're right. There's always something that no one foresees. There's always the wild card. It's
because power, the bigger it gets, the slower it moves,
and it gets sloppy. It gets sloppy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right, entrenched power structures start to get sloppy. They say stupid shit like "let them eat cake."
This is the curious thing about having like a Japanese wife, basically. But like, we talk about shit and see things differently because we're from different parts of the world, right? She was taught about the horrors of when everybody bands together to do something. Do you know what I mean? She's like, we see where it goes. Literally, her grandmother walked across like North Korea when like retreating as a child. You know what I mean? Because that's what they did. They sent their citizens to occupy that space with like backup, basically, right? But then when shit went bad, those people had to walk back home. You know what I mean? And like, so her grandmother went through that, so she's getting that directly. And she still lives in the house. Like, she grew up in the house that like her great grandfather built because her father inherited it. Because like they're almost like old school Europeans with the like oldest gets the thing and the you know what I mean, like the heredity and almost very similar. Like, samurais are just fucking knights. Like a great correlation of how our old school is like Japan. Like, it's almost very similar, right? Like faction nations that are cut off by like mountains and like geography, all fighting each other. Until at one point, one guy was like, "Fuck this shit! Let's all get together and like, Right. So,
but you're right. There will be it'll be completely unpredictable. It'll be factions that no one foresaw, right? It's like, man, I would say they were probably getting pretty close out, right? Moving from like 600 corporations to 6 that control all media into like the late 80s. They probably were getting ready to be like, we're about to own control of information. And then like the internet poked its head up and was like, hi. And then like that happened and no one foresaw that. And now it's like YouTube. Just like
the church with the printing press.
Exactly. So
the church controlled all information. And then somebody was like, I can make a flyer.
Like, exactly. So like right now is it's like we see like Amazon Web Services, we see Apple, we see Google seemingly working together. I think right now we're seeing like what looks like the church being like, no one's getting to read the Bible.
Exactly.
And we all think it's fucked. And then all of a sudden, it's like we didn't think the Soviets were going to get the A-bomb till the late 50s, and then Valenti Beryov got it, kind of jump-started it and got it going in 49, and everyone in the CIA was like, oh, fuck, because they're like, hi, we got an A-bomb. I feel like we're at like that church moment, and they're like, no one's allowed to read anything that we don't want you to read.
Yeah,
there's going to be a printing.
You're not allowed to know Latin. You're poor.
Yes. Like you're not allowed to, Alex Jones deplatform them, and then it's going to be like, go make your own Twitter. So they make Parler, and they're like, you can't have that either. And it's they just yank it. So what? Well,
it always happens. It always happens like that. The most extreme gets shut down first, and that just triggers everybody who's less extreme and more rational to be like, "Hey, wait a minute."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
Well, because it's like I saw something. It was like a shitty Facebook meme, but it kind of had some truth to it. And it was like there was like 10 like I don't know, just like lines. And it was like, what happens when we censor like for what far left doesn't matter, the far right, let's just say that, and we put the name Alex Jones under the far right, and then you draw a line through it. Well, now what? Now the far right is the 9th domino. Who is that? Milo Yiannopoulos. So you strike that out. Well, now the far right is the 8th domino. So you just keep getting rid of. It's just like saying I'm only going to cut off the rightmost inch of a cucumber. Well, when I cut it off, well, now there's another rightmost inch. So you cut that off, and you cut that off, so all of a sudden there's nothing. So I think right now we're at the seeming all is lost. Right? You can't say anything you can get banned. You can deplatform, demonetize. It's a very light version of the 1984 Vaporize, where they just get rid of you, get rid of every mention of you. And I don't know what it will be, just like the people back then didn't know. It's not like nobody was like, there's going to be a printing press. No one knew what it was. And then all of a sudden it was like Gutenberg was like, YOLO, and that happened. So I think right now is like, we're on the verge of whatever it is. Is it going to be a printing? It's going to be something that's going to completely fuck their entire control of power.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be the Wild West for like 20 years, and then they'll slowly build up power again, and then something's going to completely fuck it. And I think that's just history. I think it just.
My bet is it's going to be the combination of power grids switching over to like more individualistic, like solar and shit like that. Yeah, decentralized power grids is going to create an opportunity for people to also decentralize server farms.
Servers, yeah, food production.
So if we can decentralize food production, server farms, then you get rid of monopoly. You're basically monopoly busting just through market interaction. Do you know what I mean? That's how you're doing like what should be done. Like natural
free market. Yeah, it's
natural free market, right? So it's cool to have like, all right, chicken wings can like it's cool to have like limits on like what is a chicken wing. You know what I mean? Like I think a chicken wing should have to come from a chicken that was like actually a living being.
Walking,
you know what I mean? Like it can't be. And or if it was just some lab meat, whatever, that's cool. But just like you got to say, lab chicken, free chicken, and by all means charge whatever it costs to cover the charge. You know what I mean? Like whatever market value. But at the same time, it's like don't. If everybody suddenly starts loving the fake chicken, other chicken doesn't get to have like government. Everybody loves, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, real chicken has to like somehow figure it out.
Go by the wayside.
I'm sorry, but at the same time, fake chicken can't fuck with real chicken and be like, hey, like That's why there's libel and slander law. Like, you know what I mean? We need to start enforcing these laws we actually fucking have.
Yeah.
This is why these laws exist, to create fair markets.
Yeah.
To, you look at Japan, you're not allowed to false advertise. That's why Japanese commercials are fucking nonsense, because they're not allowed to be like, this is the best ramen in Japan. Fuck you, no, it's not. We're going to sue you. You can't prove that.
Yeah.
Right?
So instead,
they're not allowed to do it. So instead, it's like 900 chickens dancing, like a chicken dance, and it's like ramen. And you're like, sweet. That seems
like,
funny.
You're like, fuck, okay. Yeah.
And at least you try it. And if it's the best ramen, then guess what? You're going to go for that because you like it the most.
Yeah.
Just like it should be. You know what I mean? But not to say there's not fuckery in Japan as well.
No, like, nothing's But you're right. It's
I think we all live in this ideal, like, oh, we're all capitalists because we grew up with the story of capitalism.
Yes, it's like a Christmas story.
Once we actually look, and we're like, wait a second.
Once we peek behind the curtain, we realize it's just a black void. It's like we cover it with this beautiful flag, but we're like.
And then it's that thing that happens when you're a kid. You know when you're a kid and you stumble upon something that you shouldn't maybe have known, and then you ask an adult about it, and they just dismiss it. So you almost instinctually know I'm onto something.
Where do babies come from?
Do you know what I mean? Like,
where do babies come from?
Yeah, exactly.
How does Santa get down the chimney?
Right. So now people are asking, wait, why do we have to bail you out when you lose, but like we don't get anything when you win? And they're like, shh, you don't understand.
They're like,
it's too big for you.
They're like, Robin Hood it's a Reddit rally. That's what it is. And you're like, that doesn't. Right. You're like, I don't care. You're like, why can't I buy this stock? And they're like,
and you know what they say? Oh, we are protecting you. That's why you can't buy the stock. We have to protect you so you don't lose your money. Well, you don't protect us during 2008.
I've been losing my money. The Americans been losing the household medians. They've been losing their money since fucking when was the Federal Reserve? 1919. We've been losing value since then. We're protecting you. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. It's like it's not working, right?
It's like it's like you winning in a casino, and then they come out and they're like, "Sorry, sir, you can only do 2 bets now." Oh, why? Well, we don't want you to lose all your money, but I'm winning.
But it's true, right? Because I remember I went with my brother Charlie and my friend Ivan. We went to the casino like 5 miles from here, Ocean Downs, in like I think this was Christmas break 2015. We went, and I mean, that's one of the drunkest I've ever been in my life. We went there and we had this rule: we each went in with $20, and like one of us made a bet and like won 100 right away. And it was just this like mechanical roulette machine. There was no human interaction, and we had this rule because they were giving free drinks as long as we were making bets. So we had this rule: every time we won, we would immediately take our little voucher, bring it over to the ATM, we'd cash it out. Half of it went off the table and into our pockets, and the other half went back into the machine.
Yeah, laddering.
Yeah, and so we would just keep doing that. We just didn't care. Yeah. And we ended up making something like $2,000 that night. Mm-hmm. But we just were tipping bartenders. We were making retarded bets, and we were hitting them. We made so much money. I think we tipped the Uber driver like $400. I don't think we actually brought anything home. But I remember the next day we went there, and like the pit boss came up and was talking to us, and he was like, what, you guys, basically we have like an hour. We all blacked out. We didn't remember anything. And finally we talked to the bartender, and they're all like, hey boys, and like, I guess we had lined their pockets with like hundreds the night before. And we were like, of course. And they were like, you guys were on fire. But we found out that but they only let us stay there for like an hour, and then they're like, and then you have to go. And we were like, why? And they're like, you made thousands of dollars of like combined like $60 last night. And we were like, oh, that's awesome. And they were like, not so much. And we were like, fuck this. Like the one time we came, and none of the money even left. We just tipped everyone that we didn't even have to tip. Right. But it was like, no. No,
you transferred far too much from the house to the employees.
Yes, and that's the thing. It wasn't even to us; it was to the employees. We were tipping.
Exactly.
We were
that's
tipping
even worse.
That was even worse. The bathroom guy with the mints. We saw him, and he was like, "Oh, thanks." Apparently, we gave him like $50 every time I went to the bathroom. He made like a month's wage in an hour, but like. That's even worse. It's not that you were even taking it home and investing it. God forbid. You were giving it to the employees, and they were like, because all the employees were like, hey, and we were like, hey, do we know you? And they were like, Tommy, Charlie, Ivan, and we were like, fuck. And like, but we have photos. Charlie has photos on his Instagram from like 6 years ago, but it's us. We're wearing these stupid knit hats, and we're all like taking pictures with our vouchers. It's $1,800, $3,800, and it's just like, but like. Yeah. And then we weren't allowed to go anymore because they were like, we got like an hour, and then they were like, they kind of just, a big pit boss was like, your hour's up, and there was like several big guys behind them, and it was like, okay, like, I mean, we're not gonna fucking we're gonna try to fight at this this retirement town casino, and we were like, no, and
exactly, it's like,
but it was
your losses.
That one always sticks out in my mind, where it's like,
yeah, man.
And the thing is that wasn't even the first time I'd gone there. John and I used to go there. John and I would always go over there over Christmas. And we'd go lose like $200. Like, Dawn would drive us. We'd lose like $200. We'd get drunk as fuck. And that was it. But it's like, I have lost so much money there.
Exactly. So night, you probably, even that one night, you probably just got back what you and John did. If even, yeah.
And even that, we gave it all to the employees. And like, we weren't allowed to go there anymore.
No.
And to me, that was always like, okay, so fuck that. But so the thing is like, we're now seeing it with the stock market, right? It's like everyone comes out. You see on the left and on the right, you see the uniparty. For a second, AOC's and some Republicans' masks slipped. For a second, you got to see it all, and they all went, stop doing this. No one gets trading. This is too volatile. No one gave a fuck about volatility in 2008. No one gave a fuck when all those congressmen and senators... remember when they all sold a bunch of stock right before the COVID lockdowns happened?
Yeah,
because the Senate Intelligence Committee, they got a brief before everyone else in America because they were like, hey, we're doing something unprecedented. We're shutting down the country. Mm-hmm. They got like a 48-hour heads up. They all sold.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Well, sold, and then a bunch of them bet on the downswing.
Yeah.
So, like, made out like fucking bandits, literally.
And it's...
While the rest of you got unemployed. And
fucking, we got those $600 stimmy checks, boys.
And grandparents die and shit, and weren't allowed to go see them.
Yeah, like, just and it's but hey, we're working really hard to get you an extra $600.
Right.
But God forbid you guys use your ingenuity and think, hey, maybe we got to get on the stock market and start playing the games. We did.
I don't know. It's just that whole stimulus shit is just like mind-boggling. It's like okay. It's like if we were like break it down to like its most basic. If we were neighbors on the same street, Canada and America, all right, you're definitely going to be the rich family on this street, right? We're not. We're the middle class.
Yeah.
Yet our middle class ass parents still found a way to give us a monthly allowance, and times got tough. Even though you guys have like, and your parents are like, no. You're like, Mom, please, like my hands, like please, no, like that's what it feels like. It feels like watching like your friend get shit on by their parents constantly, and you're like, hey man, I wish you could come over, but like you know what I mean, like break it down to the basest shit.
Well, and then like, the worst part is it's not even as simple as that. It's like the kids of the family are like, you're like Canada's like, hey man, do you want to come hang out and go? Like movie tickets are $5. It's not just that we're like, well, we don't have $5. We're like, oh, no one can afford it. That movie is way too much. Like we believe the brainwashing. You guys are like, what are you talking? Like we believe. That's the worst part is we're like, you know what? They can't be writing these stimulus checks because we don't have the money to pay that off. Dude, these people
here we are, poor ass Canada getting $2,000 a month for less than 12.
And yet we're still at $27 trillion in debt. It still went up.
Right.
We were able to foot an $800 billion per year budget to the military, which hey, I'm all for. I think it's good to control the world. I think that's the fucking brutal reality of it, but that's a different podcast for another time. It's still going up. The debt's still going up, and we're not even getting anything out of it. $600, here you go. That's giving $4 to a guy on the side of a freeway and going, go get yourself a nice home in the burbs.
Right.
Dude, give me a handgun. Like, that's what I need. And they're like, hey, here's half a piece of corn on the cob. Don't eat it all tonight.
Yeah, here's a bullet casing.
Here's a bullet casing, and here's some...
you don't even get the bullet. That guy sells gunpowder. That guy sells lead. And I think that guy will get 3D printing gun if you...
And then once you guys all get together, there's a no-knock raid, and the FBI and the ATF come through, and they go, what the fuck are you doing?
By the time you've got your fully built bullet, and you're on your way to get the gun, they're like, please.
You get pulled over, and like one of you gets shot in the head, and the other two get zip-tied and thrown into... And it's just like,
again, I'm not saying I live in some fucking perfect utopia, but holy shit, we're not like, I don't know. It's
maybe
dying.
maybe.
Because that's the thing. It's like a double hit for a lot of you guys. Because like if you get sick over this COVID time, you're double fucked. Because like at least if I get sick, like I can go to the doctor. It's fine. I'm not like it literally doesn't cost me a fucking cent because I paid my taxes all my life.
And then
but like at the end of the day, it's like I can do that. I can go. Shit still costs money. Like if I get a cavity or like whatever, yeah, I still got to pay like a basic whatever. Because not everything is fucking just free.
Yeah,
it's just everything is reduced to be affordable. If I needed to go get antibiotics, I would have to pay for them, but I would only have to pay like $40, for like 2 weeks worth of antibiotics. Like it's a reasonable thing. It's
again, and it's like the brainwashed child who's like not only does he not get the allowance, he truly thinks that they can't be done.
Right.
You tell me that, and I'm like,
or that he for some reason doesn't deserve it.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And so like right now, I'm like, Rob, I mean, how are you guys gonna have free healthcare? I mean, you just can't foot that bill. Meanwhile, we're $27 trillion in debt, and it's like,
I mean,
what?
Like, for example, when 2008 happened, my mom worked for an American trucking company called Yellow Freight, and they went completely tits up. Like they're fucking don't exist, or if they exist, they maybe only exist in the state they started in locally. You know what I mean? Like just fucking. And this is a company that like my mom used to work for. Like my mom was a Teamster. Are you familiar with the Teamsters? Like did you watch The Irishman?
Yeah, that's where I know it from.
So my mom was like. And my grandfather were both like high level.
Your mom murdered Jimmy Hoffa.
No, but I remember when I remember as a child hearing about the murder of Jimmy Hoffa because my grandfather. Your grandpa did it. My grandfather smuggled shit across the Canadian border through the Union, right? So cigarettes, alcohol, into Detroit, because he drove trucks. He drove car trucks, right?
Hey, man.
So like they'd build them in Oshawa and they'd ship them into, you know what I mean? Finish them off in Detroit.
Make it happen.
Yeah. So my mom was like a treasurer for the Ontario branch of the Teamsters. So like she oversaw the money basically. And yeah, that shit like, oh yeah, deep mob ties. Well,
good.
But when 2008 happened, and eventually she lost her job from that, like that company went tits up, couldn't do anything. Our government, conservative government at the time, basically retrained everybody, re-educated everybody, gave them all like a free pass to go back to college or like whatever. So my mom did finance, she did books for companies, right? But she'd done it for so long, she didn't have a degree. And she didn't have a finance degree. She didn't have a bookkeeping degree because when she started, you didn't need one. You just did the job and learned it, right? So then basically she got 3 years of retraining, like full school, like loan, 0 interest loan. I don't even know if she had a loan. Like I didn't even think she had to repay it. They're just like, here, this is for school. And she went back to school and she has a job again. Same kind of like she works in construction now, but doing paperwork and like balancing books and shit. But like had that not happened, she might be homeless now. You know what I mean? Because like she wouldn't, at 52 years old, she wouldn't have had the resources to put herself through 3 years of school to get that like diploma again at that time.
You know what we should do? We should. What?
I don't know.
What should we do?
Yeah.
We should pioneer airship communities. We should just buy a bunch of blimps, string them together, and like we each
fucking Miyazaki style.
We can each live in the little fucking whatever the fuck they have, the little fucking whatever.
I understand.
The little bubble those things carry, which are small, but if it's only one person to each, maybe you could make it happen. It'd be like a small Manhattan apartment. Maybe we should just buy airships and start an airship community. We can go out to like international waters or something.
We still have to figure out like better way than hydrogen or helium though for the airships.
Very true.
Because I'm not trying to be a Hindenburg part two. You know what I mean? It just all goes up in flames.
That's very true.
I think I'm more like floating island kind of thing. I like that idea. floating island that is like engineered that it can like just ride rogue waves and shit like that. You know what I mean?
So maybe we should get, those ships that there's like places in like Africa, like beach. I think there's one specific beach where like huge old ships get scuttled, where they just run them
Oh, the tankers and shit. Yeah.
I mean, imagine if we just got like a tanker, just got an old tanker and just buoyed it off somewhere.
Yeah, and like created land. Like I mean,
it's just a floating city, and it just I don't know, and because I really don't see like. I don't know. I don't think the alternatives are going to be that much better than that in the coming decades.
I mean, there's people who live in like Australasia area, like the islands, how there's like thousands of fucking islands, and like the water's going up, and those people have nowhere to go. Like there was a girl who was actually she did a Twitch stream through Musk's new internet.
Yeah.
So she did like it was like fucking 240p, just pixely as shit.
Yeah.
But it was like, we're here, man. And people were like, she was doing like an AMA, and they're like, what's gonna happen? And she's like, I don't know, this island's gonna be like gone in 15 years. So like we have to figure out somewhere to go, or like that's where it's gonna start. And there's already people who have like historically lived in sunken islands, and they live on the water, like on boats, basically. Just there's like people in Thailand who do that too.
They live in island.
Not even, they're like, they float between them. So they usually have like raft towns or whatever, and they float in between the islands. They fish. They just live off the ocean, basically.
That
and only go into shore to trade and shit.
Maybe Mars is going to be the new world.
Well, you got to watch The Expanse. I know. I mentioned this long ago when me and JP had one, but like, watch The Expanse.
I think I remember that episode.
It's all about that. It's all about like the colonization of like Mars and like the Kuiper belt between for like mining and shit.
For everybody,
it's really cool.
For everybody listening, go back to episode 40 with me.
Yeah,
Rob,
like literally.
No, it's episode 40. I remember.
Is it? Okay.
Because I remember watching it. I was scrolling through it once, and the podcast was so long that it's actually like a time lapse. You can see the light in my room. You can see all of our shadows shift as the sun is moving. All of our shadows are changing. And then like lamps start coming on and shit. But episode 40 with JP, me, and Rob. It's like a 3-hour episode. But one thing I was thinking like just now, but maybe come to the new world, to escape religious persecution. Maybe Musk's world is going to be like, hey, you can go there. There's no cancel culture. There's no PC, no bailouts. There's nothing. Maybe
that's what Mars is. It's a military colony.
Yeah.
Everybody is in the military because they're born Martian.
That's true.
It's part of the plot.
But I'm talking about in our reality.
No. I get it, but like the things you're talking about are like played out in this show. Like basically everybody, all these people want to go to Mars, so like Earth is effectively given up on.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because like all the focus is on like let's build this, and then you catch the show after Mars has been built up, and now they're eyeing new planets. Yeah, and so Mars is being dismantled to like, so it's like really weird.
Well, no, that will be the pattern. We will always go to the next best thing, but for a short time, just like like a city can only be hip for so long, right? Mm-hmm. It's like San Francisco during the 60s. Like you got to go ride the wave, but like the wave breaks and then it moves somewhere else, right? Right now you could argue, right now I would say like you're probably seeing like in all of my knowledge, I would say that like maybe New York and like LA seem to be like the water's going down, and more people are going to shit like Austin and Miami. But I think
it's same here.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen again. Is like Mars is going to be the new hip place. It's going to be the booming like Manhattan of 1920. And you're going to be able to go there for a while and have the Martian dream instead of the American dream. It's going to be the Martian dream, where it's going to be, hey, my grandpa came here. He just had a shitty podcast.
It's going to be FDR, right? Yeah, FDR with like Arkansas, 40 fucking acres and a mule, right? It's exactly the same.
It's going to be that. It's going to be like Rob, and then my grandpa Rob and his friend Tommy, who had a shitty podcast. They went out there with nothing more than a hard drive and 2 microphones, and they ended up owning this whole mining operation, right?
Yeah.
And it will grow big, and then 5 generations later, they'll all be like, the
They
Martian
started
dream is...
media empires on the Mars.
Yeah, and then we will slowly become what we despise. We'll become Rupert Murdoch, and we'll start affecting the market. And then everyone's going to be like, the Martian dream is dead. And it's going to be like, you know what, though? I heard fucking Elon Musk's grandson is setting up a floating city in Venus, and they're going to be like,
on the moon of Venus or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
And it's just going to be the same pattern as always. And I think it's kind of like the ocean. You don't get to one wave and go, this wave's going to last forever. And you also don't mourn it when it goes away. You go, let's just wait for the next wave. And you never are under the illusion that you're going to catch some eternal wave. You just look at it as like, the wave's been crashing on the shore for billions of years. Just have fun with the waves. And I'm thinking maybe that's what we need to do, is not think, oh, those waves going away. I'm just going to learn to ride the next one and the next one, and then eventually you'll be able to slip away to the sweet release of biological death.
Exactly. That's the win. You win.
And you know what? You know why I'm not scared of death? Because you know what my favorite part of the day is? Do you know what my favorite part of the day is fucking in my bed with the bedside fan going. I dim my phone down and I look at shit for about an hour, and I start to get heavy eyelids. And then what I always do is I go to the bathroom one last time, and then I lay on my back. I put headphones in. I put in whatever lecture I want to listen to when I'm falling asleep. And the fan's on, and I'm chilly, and I'm under a couple big blankets, and then I slip off. And that's the favorite part of my day. I have a podcast where I get paid to do this. I am living my dream. My favorite part of the day is still going to sleep. So
not to be a nihilistic black pill, but life is suffering.
That's not nihilistic. That's fact. I mean, that's what Buddha said. Buddha, arguably the happiest guy in history.
Right.
His first tenet. What is it? The Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path? What's number 1? Life is suffering. Yeah. That was the get-go. That was the, hey, I'm Buddha. It's, I'm Johnny Knoxville and this is Jackass. Hey, I'm Buddha. Life is suffering. He just right out of the gate, it's like speed dating. He was like, this is who I am and this is what I want. Life is suffering. I don't think that's black pilled. I think that's reality.
But I think a lot of people, especially nowadays, don't subscribe to that.
Oh, I still do.
They're like, life is amazing. I'm like, man, I'm so special, and I'm a special human being, and I'm like, yeah, shut the fuck up, you, you goddamn ant like me.
Life is hell. Yeah. Life is suffering hell, but you can still have a good time during it, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if the Titanic's going sideways. If you and your buddies are drinking, like, the beer is still good. So it's like, yeah, this whole thing is just it's a biplane that lost a wing in World War I, and it's spiraling towards the mountainside. Like, we're destroying the earth. The rich are running away with everything. There's a pandemic ravaging the planet. But I mean, fuck, I can still get on and just get on Zoom with Rob, and we can shoot the shit about GameStop. Yeah. It's like, it's all suffering. Have some fun.
But at least we have this little kernel of, like, enjoyment.
Yeah, like, the engines are flamed out. It's going straight into the side of Mount Everest. The pilots are unconscious.
It's like we're dying, so we're, like, memeing as the plane goes down.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, that's what I mean, right?
I'm hanging onto the wing, flying around, and you only see me every other rotation, and I'm like, dang.
Yeah, and
you know what I mean? I'm like yelling shit.
You're looking at me. You're doing like that. You're doing the Eddie Murphy head tap. You're going, don't need life insurance if not alive. And you're going, and I'm going, it's the coffin dance.
Yeah, exactly.
It's that meme. The engine's flamed out. We're going straight down, and I'd airdrop a meme to your phone, and it's a coffin dance, and they're all holding the 737 that we're all you can go. Like, there's no winning, man. We got to wrap this up in a minute, but there's no, even if you're worth $100 billion and you survive it all, you get radical life extension, you merge with machines. Ultimately, what? There's the heat death of the universe. Entropy goes to zero.
Exactly.
It doesn't. Yeah. It just, whether it's the big rip, the big freeze, or it collapses again.
Right.
You can prolong it, even if you're a human and you live to your 10,000, an unimaginably long life. That's still a burp in the life of a solar system. Mm-hmm. We're all dead. We're all fucked. No one wins. So, I don't know, share memes as the plane goes straight into a granite mountainside. And I think there's some beauty to that.
Yeah.
I do. It's Alan Watts said, imagine, as soon as you're born, you're thrown off a cliff and there's a big rock next to you and you're just falling at terminal velocity. And you're trying to hold on to the rock. Some people have let go and they're freaking out and you're like, I'm not letting go of my rock. But at some point during the vertical drop, you realize whether or not you're holding onto the rock, you're still dead. So just don't hold on to it, man. It's going straight into the ground. It's going straight into the ground. Have
some fun with the rock.
Have some fun with the rock. Who
Pretend
cares?
you're Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, and if it's not your favorite rock, push it away and go to someone else's rock. You're going straight in, and even if you somehow survive the fall, or you somehow survive the landing, there's still rocks falling on top of you. It's all fucked. Yeah. And I think that's beautiful. I think it forces us to enjoy it. Right? On that note, Rob.
All right.
Always a pleasure, man.
Absolutely.
Rob, I love you, buddy. Thanks for coming on. And let's do another one sometime. And everybody, life is suffering, and that's fantastic. So just run with it. Go buy GameStop or Silver or whatever. Help burn down the system. Whatever. Or don't. It doesn't matter because we're all dead anyway.
Or don't.
But make some memes about it.
Sit by the sidelines and eat some fucking popcorn.
At the very least.
And Michael Jackson popcorn meme.
Yeah. Except just do it with ramen. Just do it with ramen.
Or whatever.
Just do it. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters. But make some memes out of it and laugh and understand that because you think that there is no winning, that doesn't mean you're black-pilled. That's just real. So enjoy it. I don't know. If you want to get married and have kids, do it. If you don't. It's whatever.
Yeah.
You know? So, all right, Rob. I'll see you, my man. Take care, buddy. Peace.
Bye.